To introduce our draft policy on law and order, please welcome the co-chairperson of the policy panel on law and order, Senator John Moodey.
Thank you. I saw a lot of red cards here earlier on, and I'd like to believe that as ActionSA, this policy will deal effectively with criminals by giving them the red card. Fellow actioners, where humans exist side by side, there has always been an accepted code of rules that govern their coexistence. And no society can thrive in a lawless environment. That distinguishes us as human beings from other creation. Law is a set of rules, or the rules that are set by society, to govern and regulate the behavior of citizens towards each other and to protect the rights and privileges of all. Order is the institution set up by the state to monitor, uphold, and enforce adherence to this law. The police services, courts, correctional services, social services, immigration services, etc., are such institutions. However, laws can be passed to regulate our behavior, yet without the enforcement thereof, and that is order, it will amount to naught. Thomas Hobbes, the English philosopher, famously said that life without government would be, and I open quote here, nasty, brutish, and short, close quote. Sadly, this has become a reality and almost a norm for many South Africans, and we must stop that. South Africa comes from a painful past, where the policing and other security services were largely used in the protection of the abusive apartheid state. The scars of that oppressive regime still remains with us up until today. Incidents such as the Marikana massacre, the murder of Andries Titane, and other related incidents of police brutality, such as the recent incident which involves the Deputy President's security detail, etc., continues to erode our confidence in the police services, those who are supposed to serve and protect us. Many of us will agree that we are losing the fight against crime. We have seen crime summits organized and staged by different levels of government come and go. But there has been a lack of political will to implement the policies experts had told the government will work at these summits. We have seen that when there is political will and urgency, like in the run-up to the preparations for the 2010 World Cup, our police and security services can reduce crime dramatically through the establishment of priority courts and through speedy and successful prosecutions against criminals to get them behind bars within days. The statistics is there. It shows that in 2010, our crime rate came down dramatically and then started to loop after the 2010 World Cup. So it can be done. Sadly, our government institutions responsible for maintaining law and order have been ravaged by corruption and hollowed out of the capacity to address criminality. South Africa now rates amongst the very top countries when it comes to crime. We are the world's murder capital, and today we are scorned as yet another failed state. A very sad reality that once upon a time, just after 1994, South Africa was seen as the miracle nation of the world. We face a myriad of challenges when it comes to the enforcement of law and order, and more specifically, the combating of crime. Our police services is in a shambles. It is being poorly led, they are poorly trained, and severely under-resourced. The law enforcement services are held accountable to get crime under control, yet they do not have the responsibility of other departments or institutions that are accountable to deal with factors that contribute to crime. Factors such as the poor state of our economy, which leads to higher unemployment rate, which is the highest in the world. And unemployment then leads to many other socio-economic factors that contributes to lawlessness. Factors such as drug and alcohol abuse, gender-based violence, human trafficking, and the list goes on. Corruption. Corruption is enemy number one in South Africa. And corruption is the public and private sector, which goes unchecked due to the political interference, is robbing our people of opportunities and a chance at a better future. Corrupt politicians are the number one enemy of society. And that is why, as ActionSA, we speak of ethical leadership. Law and order. As ActionSA, we are serious about fixing our South Africa. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with me? We understand that without effectively being able to maintain law and order, we will not succeed in restoring investor confidence in South Africa. We must ensure a strong message is sent out to society that crime does not pay. Our priority must be to strengthen the institutions tasked with the maintenance of law and order. Crime prevention. Crime prevention should be our priority, and expedient, successful detection, arrests, and prosecutions of criminal cases must become the order of the day. Crime syndicates must be eradicated, as organized crime is a very serious, and believe you me, a real threat to our state of security. Unless we get a handle on organized crime, we will find ourselves in a situation such as Mexico and other areas of South America, where the state is actually run by cartels, something we can ill afford. But we face that real reality when we look at the building mafia, for example, which is rearing its head everywhere. That is timing economic growth in South Africa because they are preventing projects from going ahead that will actually improve our circumstances. At this conference, we will be putting forth a workable policy derived from the input received from experts in the fields of law and order and from ordinary citizens and delegates seated here. I must say that our deliberations were fairly robust, and I thank those who are on the panels with me and my co-chair, Advocate Benson. Your input was really appreciated. When we speak of political will and the need for strong leadership, I think immediately of Herman Mashaba during his tenure as mayor, who in just 3 years was able to hire 1,500 JMPD officers, and Johannesburg was safer for it. People looked at him and said, "What's this man up to?" He realized what the core underlying principles was of turning Johannesburg around. And if you bring back and restore law and order, you are able to then achieve other issues and matters that really will go about growing the economy of Johannesburg by improving the plight of our people and, of course, getting investor interest back into the city. However, we need SAPs to come along as well. South Africa is desperately lacking police officers, and that is dedicated police officers, not just those people who are looking for a job. Which is why we are saying that we need at least 90,000 more well-trained officers patrolling our communities and our streets, with enough vehicles and other resources to come out when we call them for assistance. Not call them when we are in danger, and they come maybe when we are being buried. Right there and right now. We can't rely purely on ordinary police officers when cartels and organized crime have become so entrenched into the South African state, which is why we are also adamant that we also need specialized units to deal specifically with gangsterism, financial crimes, organized crime, economic sabotage, and the list goes on. Let me just emphasize this, that in that 1,500 new officers that Herman Mashaba, at the time when he was mayor, had employed in the city of Johannesburg, they instituted and established anti-drug units, canine units, specialized units to deal with crime in the city. And we can still feel the difference that they are making in our city. When it comes to firearms, as ActionSA, we believe firmly that South Africans are capable, resilient, and should be a key part of the solution against crime. Each and every one of us can play a role in it. There was someone here yesterday that said from the Disability Forum, nothing about us without us. I think that is what that person said. Now you and I can say that this is where crime stops. It starts with me, to get involved and not be a hopeless spectator. We can take back our societies. You and I can do it. And when we see a mugger mugging a woman, then we men should step up to the plate and say, not in my name. If we take back our streets, the criminals will run. Because crime prospers when people, good people, just stand by idly and watch and say, it's not me. Tomorrow it will be you. Which is why our draft policy says that we need to crack down on all illegal firearms, but also to make it easier for law-abiding citizens to obtain a firearm legally. We cannot rely only on the state to protect our families and communities, which is why you should be able to use a firearm to stand your ground and defend your home and your family against intruders. A man's home is his castle. I'm a father. I'm a husband. And at this given stage, according to the law in South Africa, I cannot defend my family even if an intruder...
Sorry, can I ask? There's a delegate in the corner who is making a noise and being incredibly disrespectful to this process. You're out of order. Please fall into order and allow the discussion to continue. Thank you. Sorry, John, please continue.
No, that's fine. Thank you, Michael. Let's fix South Africa. Let's fix. Let's fix. Let's fix. Let's fix. Thank you. I'm a husband. I'm a father. My home is my castle. At this moment in time, I cannot defend my family adequately, even if intruders are in my home. I have to wait until they actually attempt to kill myself or my family members. And that is irregly. I should have the right to defend my family the minute they breach my security, which is on my fence. I cannot first wait until my family is bleeding before I can defend myself. And that is why criminals can defy even the law. And that is why even police officers are attacked and assaulted by criminals. It cannot happen. It must stop. We must show them the red card. Now, delegates, it is time to take a harsher stance on criminals after they have been prosecuted as well. Our communities are under siege from hardened criminals and syndicates who have no regard for human life or dignity. Yet our penal laws favor these very criminals and do little to deter their actions. That is why we are advancing for harsher penalties for violent crime, murder, rape, human trafficking, and armed robbery. We are also against violent criminals being given the right to vote in prisons. Why should they vote in prison when they're in prison? I believe that they've given up their right because they cannot live in society. So why should they choose our leaders? After they had proven that they are unable to make valuable contributions to society, that is. Let's rather put prisoners to work. Prison should not be a place where you receive a free meal, medical assistance, education, a roof over your head. This is why prisoners should become part of a labor force that reinvigorates public work programs and fixes crumbling infrastructure and cleans up our communities and pays back to community. We all know that corruption cases carry on for years without being finalized, and the Zuma cases are one of them. It is clear that our legal system needs new classifications to deal with specifically with corruption. By establishing a Contravention of Ethics Act that will entrench ethical behavior into the legal system, we need to make the abuse of political influence a criminal offense, which is why our public institutions have been looted and hollowed out by cadres and corrupt politicians. Now, in conclusion, my fellow actioners, I trust that we will succeed in passing a policy that will address the challenges we face and will contribute to ensuring a better life and a better future for all of us. So let's go out there and let's fix South Africa. Thank you.